back to the Me, Myself, and Hopefully You podcast. My name is Tarek, a university student who currently has no idea what he wants to do with his life. And so rather than actually trying to figure it out, I decided to start a podcast, just like everyone else these days, where I interview guests from all around the world, hopefully trying to get some inspiration, get some life advice, or just have an interesting conversation. So if you can relate, maybe you have no idea what you want to do with your life either, and you just want to get some sort of inspiration from some people, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss new podcast episodes out every single week. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's episode is all about that thing that everyone seems to be invested in, but no one actually knows what it actually is. That is cryptocurrency. We cover topics such as what crypto is, why Bitcoin is at the forefront of it all, government attempts in trying to shut it down, and how it will lead to millions of people benefiting, including a greater quality of life for so many people around the world, and greater financial equality. Now, joining me this week to dissect crypto is the man who predicted this rise nearly a decade ago, where he told all his subscribers at the time to invest in Bitcoin. And if they listened to him and invested just $100 at the time, they would be multi-millionaires. Yes, multi-millionaires, my friends. And so my guest at this time, because of his prediction and some of the subscribers as well, they are now living lavish lifestyles, living in places like Dubai, Monte Carlo, and so many of the other exotic locations all around the world. So I didn't think there was anyone better to get on the podcast to talk and tell me more about crypto. And so without further ado, the king of crypto, I said crypto a lot, it's Da Vinci Jeremy.
So, Da Vinci, I want to start off with, I'm just going to ask you straight away, could you just sort of introduce yourself to the audience, what you do, and who you are a bit?
Well, my name is Da Vinci Jeremy. I'm currently living here in Dubai right now. I used to live in Chile, and before that, I lived in Canada. I'm a software developer, and I studied monetary history when I learned that money was a big fraud because it transfers wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich. And I realized that we had to protect ourselves with gold and silver. And then I decided to do a YouTube channel, right, to explain this to people in order to help more people understand this, because no one did in my area, a circle of friends. And I wanted to make sure that that I educate at least one person. Over time, I found out about Bitcoin. Somebody told me about Bitcoin, and because I was a software developer, I thought, no, there's no way this is possible, because I know, because I researched it, it's not possible to create a system that, where you have a digital assets and it can't be copied. And so you know that, it's been transferred to another person. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto did create it, and it does work. When I realized in March of 2011, the price was actually $1, and I tried to convince my audience that it was a good thing to buy. Obviously, they laughed at me, and I kept pushing it because I knew that this was going to be a revolutionary currency. I even offered my viewers a guarantee of their money, right? That if they invested in this, I would, and they lost it all, right? I'd pay them back, right? And only 5 people took me up on an offer, and those 5 people are extremely grateful. And yes, so I currently have a YouTube channel, right, that talks about mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum, and sometimes I talk about gold and silver.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy your YouTube channel. I think I came across it on social media because someone shared a screenshot of your Bitcoin video and the date, and I thought, whoa, this guy, was one of the few right at the beginning then that sort of saw it and was encouraging people to buy it. And like you said, this was March 2011 when it was only $1, compared to what it was when it was at its peak. A lot of people probably made a decent amount of money. Do you know how much? You said that only 5 people really took you up on that offer. Do you know what the amount was? The highest amount that someone made was?
No, I didn't ask them how much they.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but it's still pretty mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand that completely. Yeah, no, I just wanted to see. So I want to ask you, why did you feel so sort of confident? Actually, no, I want to start maybe a little bit from the beginning. When we talk about things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, this is still, I know for you, you've been studying it for a fairly long time. But for a lot of the young people that are sort of now, hearing these words like crypto and blockchain technology and whatever, what is cryptocurrency? What is Bitcoin? And why did you think it was the future? And why are so many people still thinking right now that it is the future?
Well, Bitcoin is just another digital way to transfer your money across around the world. So right now you can do it, of course. It's still possible to transfer your money around the world. But try and do it, right? What happens is you have to fill out a massive form, right? You have to tell them why you're sending it, who you're sending it to, and then your address has to be correct. Their address has to be correct. You have to know the address of the bank. You have to know all this kinds of information before you could actually send it. And then once they do send it, it'll take 5 days. And by the way, half the time it gets lost. And then you have to find it, go and find it. They have to do research. You have to do inquiries. So that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin is so superior to our current system. But the real superiority comes in the fact that our current financial system is a means of theft without people realizing it. It's a means of taking wealth from the poor and the middle class, like I explained before, through inflation. When a wealthy people print and purchase a large building or purchase any kind of asset with their money, but the money that they got for free practically, well, there is a little bit of a charge called interest, but the money gets printed whenever you go into debt. And so this is a theft from anyone who just works for the money and saves it. They also do it through the government. Whenever the government goes into debt, they also print the money and effectively steals your wealth, your savings from you without your knowledge. And so this is the most hideous way that governments and corporations rob the average person, because as prices continue to go higher, your wages lag behind them. And so it becomes a very insidious system of wealth transfer from anyone who has direct access to the printing press, right? From the people who are poor to anyone who has direct access to the printing press. So it is a very sad system. And so this is why Satoshi got so angry, right? When the banks they were all collapsing, and then they all got free money from the printing press, right? And it's like, wait a second here, this is not right. You guys steal, and then you guys steal even more. So that's that. Satoshi decided to create the Bitcoin system, and here we are. And I'm so happy we have this system, because we were not headed in a positive direction. The end result of our financial system is the impoverishment of virtually 90% of the population, and only a small 10% would have the money. So it's a horrible system.
So with things like Bitcoin, would it create greater wealth equality where people have access to more money and maybe a more equal share of the wealth?
Yes, it does. It doesn't, because think about it this way. Bitcoin is a deflationary currency. So eventually it always goes up in value. And same with gold, right? In the past, the gold was not increasing as fast as the supply of gold was not increasing as fast as the population was. And so the value of money was going up slowly, very slowly, but hardly noticeable. But if you just saved it and you didn't risk it in the bank where hey, you know what, they could lend it out to somebody who doesn't pay back, you would see a slow, gradual increase in your what's it called, your level of standard of living. You don't have to, for example, in the past, there was no statement of saying, hey, I need to borrow money to buy a house, so I'm never going to buy one, never going to be able to save up and buy one. That did not exist at all, right?
You couldn't afford it, you can't buy it.
Yeah, you could actually save and buy it, right? Because prices were stayed and maintained at a level price for an average average home. So today, that's not the case. And why is that? Because people can print, which is borrow, and raise the price of a home, making it impossible for the average person to save for a home and pay it off outright. In fact, in the past, they would laugh at you if you tried to borrow money to buy a home. Why? Because wages, because your job there's a probability that you would lose your job and have to go find another job where you paid less, because of the slow decreasing, the increasing value of your money. And because that money is increasing in value, that means your wage right, is effectively increasing even if you stay at the same wage. So the chance, right, that unless you promote yourself, get yourself promoted, you're going to lose your job for somebody else who's going to work for less. So that is why in the past you would not borrow money for a house. Only borrow money to actually produce something that's going to increase, that's going to give you value to pay off your loan. That's the only time you receive a loan in the past. So that's why we're here, and I'm glad that Bitcoin's here, and because man, it's going to create a renaissance. Whenever we've converted, whenever in the past history, like we've seen, for example, the Renaissance only came into being because we switched from paper money, money that was being debased, to gold money that was not being debased. Once that happened, people were able to save, people were able to invest, people were able to do the things they needed to do and plan further out in the future, right? And know that they would be able to survive, right? By planning and saving in gold. And so they didn't have to worry about it. So making that allowed more people wealth, giving more people wealth, more people a chance to be a part of the wealthy class, even if they were not very smart, and be able to just even get the basics of their life and be able to retire with some sort of dignity. And this this moved everyone. This moved up all light bulbs. So we're going to see that once we convert completely over to Bitcoin, the world will be a place that you won't imagine. It'll be so much better than what we've got. It's going to be unbelievable what people are going to be able to invent, create, and do once we're all using Bitcoin.
There's a lot there that I'd like to pick on, but obviously we haven't got all the time in the world. I know you're a busy guy, Da Vinci. One of the things I want to pick up on what you said there was, you said that the world would sort of be a lot better with when Bitcoin and crypto or whatever take over, essentially. I think my sort of concern there, or a lot of people's concern, is the fact that we've had in the past a lot of people say things like, oh, this is going to change the world, this is going to revolutionize the world. And although it hasn't really made much of a difference to the poorest in society, right? The ones who are, struggling to eat, like me, I'm lucky, I live in a house, I have food, my dad works, etc., etc. Well, I'm talking about the real poor people. How are they, or are they really going to benefit? Because in the past, we've had these sort of revolutionary ideas, which have revolutionized things, but only for the people above that poverty line. What about those below? Is it going to help them?
Yes, because now they don't have to work. Imagine trying to work for somebody that's far away in another country with our current financial system, where you'd have to transfer them money through their current financial system to that person, a small amount of money. First off, it's not possible because it costs you $30 just to initiate the wire transfer. And minimum, that's the low end of the scale. It's more likely around anywhere from $50 to $150 for a wire transfer. So you couldn't have somebody under a current system working for you on the other side of the world. Today you can, right? So this opens up a global market of people being able to work from wherever. Not only that, they can receive a very small wage, and they don't have to worry about, hey, wait a second, this small wage is actually going down in value, and tomorrow food price is going to be so high and I won't be able to eat. No, they're going to be able to eat more in the future, not less, with that particular wage. And wages are effectively, everything you do today for your wage is going to be worth less in the future. The work that you've done is going to be worth less in the future. So for example, let's just say you're a maid, right? And you're cleaning a house and you're getting paid a salary today. That, because there's more labor and more people coming more every single day, that wage, that job is very, very going to be very competitive, and the prices of that job will go down. So the value of that today is worth more than it is going to be in the future. So imagine you being able to harness all that value, put it in some asset that you can store, and not only will it keep the value, but it will give you way more. That's what you're getting with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So imagine somebody who's making $2 a day, and that $2 can, although it can buy very little, it will in the future buy a whole lot more than what they're doing, what it's doing today. So that is why it's going to revolutionize, and it's going to make things way better for everyone on the planet, except there is people who will get burned: governments and large corporations. They will have to actually do corporations will have to do work. Governments will have to actually, be nice to people, which is what they don't like doing.
They don't want to do that. Be nice? What we have to be nice now? What's going on?
Because people could leave,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Money and leave. So, and the corporations, they'll actually have to innovate, because right now we have corporations that produce things and don't make a profit. And they might be cool things like Netflix, like the Tesla's vehicle. But the only reason why these companies are existing is because of the free printed money. In a world where money is not free, those companies will not exist. I'm sorry. Because you're not going to invest some hard-earned money on a prayer that there's one day that they'll get it back to you. And there's no plan of that, because right now, Netflix has no plan to turn profit somewhere in the future. Tesla has no plan to turn a profit in the future. Everybody's hoping for those, but they don't have a plan for that. I don't think you're going to invest your hard-earned money that's really hard, solid money. People are not going to do that in the future. At first, they will, because they're used to it, but eventually they'll get burned and learn, and then, of course, people will not do that ever, ever, ever again. If a corporation is not making money and not producing something, or has no plans, laid out plans for the future to actually turn a profit, they will not exist.
So will investing essentially be completely gone then? Will people just stop investing money in once Bitcoin takes over and becomes the sort of major currency? Will investing in general just be gone? Because why would anyone invest any money if their money is every single day increasing in value?
No, that's true. Your money is increasing in value slowly. Eventually, it will be moving slowly, not very fast, right? Very slow. But if you want a rapid increase in your wealth, of course, investing is the way to go. Investing with a product that people will want and people will part with their precious Bitcoins for is a way to invest in the future. And investing will be a lot easier in the future. No more controls with the SECs and all those kind of nonsense. It'll be moved over to tokens and so forth, because it's so much easier. And this allows even more people to participate, so the poorest person can actually participate and pull themselves out of poverty, because they did a little bit of research. They went and found a company that will, if they save their few dollars into, they will actually rapidly increase their wealth, but not slowly. So yeah, it's a lot of opportunities. It'll spread the opportunities for a lot more people around the world thanks to crypto.
You're quite confident. I mean, you were confident in 2011, and you're still quite confident that crypto is going to be, is going to transform the world, is going to be the major sort of currency. How long do you think that we're away from that? Would you say? I know you're not, you can't really give a date, but what sort of how many years would you give?
Yeah, I would say we're like, before, I think we'll start to really notice it in the next 5 years, that really to change, flip over. And then over the next 10 years, that's when it's going to be like, duh, why didn't we do this before? Right? It'll be obvious to everybody, right?
Yeah. But do you think, because I mean, obviously we saw this sort of from 2011 to 2020, we saw this quite upwards trend of crypto, and then we saw this, I don't know, would you label it as some sort of crash that happened where a lot of people were coming out of it, they were questioning it, they were like, well, is this true, is it going to be, is it a thing, is it a blip, what is it? And then now you're also seeing, banks now, you said before, banks and big corporations, they're not going to be happy with it. They're acting on it and they're going, well, we're not going to allow this. So for example, in the UK, some of the biggest banks here have already stopped. I don't know if you've ever heard of Binance. They've stopped payments to and from Binance, so that you can't actually buy any crypto. if you use the Binance platform. And I'm sure that's going to be the case for other platforms as well, and for other banks too. And you also in China as well, they've stopped the use of Bitcoin for certain things. Tesla has stopped using Bitcoin as well. So there are big corporations that are sort of trying to stop it. And when big corporations and big banks try and stop something, they do tend to get their way because of how much power they hold.
We could have went back in time and said, okay, listen, you created this printing press thing, right? Very massive, size of a room printing press. And you think you're going to create books so that the poor can learn, right? And be educated? You think the church is going to appreciate that? You think the government's going to appreciate that? I don't think you're going to stand a chance, buddy. And that's why today we don't have books. Oh, wait, that's right, we do. There's no way to unthink of this idea is time has come. And there's no way to uninvent the idea. And so all they can possibly do is slow it down. The eventuality of this is inevitable, right? That we'll use it all is inevitable. That's the best thing they could possibly do is slow it down. They can't stop it. It's here to stay. It can't be uninvented. Everybody knows how it works. It's a free thing. It's not even controlled by somebody trying to make a profit, right? The Bitcoin network. It's open to everybody, right? Imagine, compare that to a printing press in which somebody was trying to produce a book to make a profit. Big difference there, right? And yet we have books today, right? And they could actually smash the printing press. They could go and find people. They could burn the books. They could do all kinds of things in the past. Yet still we have books today somehow, right? That's an example. Today with cryptocurrencies, how are they going to burn it? How are they going to stop it? People still use it, right? You and I can still use it. People in Nigeria, they use it, even though I'm sure their government doesn't like it. They're the number one user of Bitcoin. It can't be stopped. It can't be unthought of. And if you decide, if the United States decides that, hey, there's no more Bitcoin in this country, you think Nigeria is going to stop? The people in Nigeria are going to stop using it? And they'll just innovate and become wealthier, whilst what happens? They stagnate, just like the Soviet Union did in the past, right? When they didn't embrace capitalism, right? So it's clear, right? Where's the direction of it? So everyone who decides to take up Bitcoin, they will benefit, whilst everyone who decides not to will fail. And then eventually they'll come around and say, well, yeah, I guess this is not working. Right?
Yeah.
That's all, right? Eventually, that's what happened to China, right? They were communists and nothing was, they were so impoverished, and eventually they came around to go, yeah, I guess this thing is not working.
Maybe let's try something else. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then now look at them now. They're they're arguably the most powerful country in the world. So we've got all these sort of, so you're confident in Bitcoin, or in crypto, sorry, being, this transformative thing that it's going to take over. We've got all these different sort of coins. What's the difference between all of them? Some of them seem like they're just complete fads. Dogecoin is a meme coin that seems to go up and down and whatever. Then you've got Bitcoin that, was the first sort of major thing with Satoshi Nakamoto. You got Ethereum as well. I can't remember what his name is, the guy who founded that. What is the difference between all these different coins, and how do people know what is true and what is just essentially a bit of a play around and not really a real thing?
Well, Bitcoin is the core system where, because it has the most hashing power and is not only because it was first to market, but because the history of Bitcoin is immutable, meaning that it cannot be changed. It's close to impossible being changed, right? Not absolutely impossible. I mean, maybe if we come up with a system where we brainwashed every single person to be exactly like a robot, and then they all accept, okay, yes, we're going to change Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. But But yeah, everybody would have to agree, and just that's never happened, right? Never in history of the world has everyone come together and agreed, yes, this is true, right? On anything, right? So yeah, I mean, it's there's no chance of Bitcoin actually making changes to. So that's why it's the strongest currency out there. The other ones, such as Ethereum, are basically they have a lot of features that Bitcoin wanted to put in but couldn't because Satoshi knew that, hey, wait a second, we'd have to make this thing less, more centralized than it would be than we want it to be, right? Because Ethereum has to be, because Ethereum is super complicated. They have to actually reduce. They have to actually give people an update every once in a while to fix any problems. So that means the first version of Ethereum that you have does not run today. The first version of Bitcoin runs today. So it's very easy to change the rules of Ethereum because everybody has to update their software all the time. So all you have to do is, to point a gun at a few people and say, hey, change the rules and update everybody's software.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Right. That's all it takes. And anything can change. Right. But with Bitcoin, no, you can't, because there's systems and satellites that are embedded that run on this fixed platform that it is what it is, and they can't change it. If it changes, then all their hardware becomes useless. And so this makes it that much stronger. Now, other currencies, they try to boast the same thing, but unfortunately, they don't have the hashing power because Bitcoin has sucked up all the hashing power because it has the most value. And so they're not as strong in the sense that, hey, someone could produce equipment to actually go and make the changes in the past, by purchasing enough equipment, and the equipment is only a small amount needed for most currencies. Probably not Dogecoin so much. Maybe I don't know. I have to look into it. But it's still probably a chance that Dogecoin could get affected, but not so much. And so that's why people love Dogecoin, and it's a big meme coin, and it's doing very well. And I never underestimate the power of a meme and what kids would do, because imagine, and because there's so much coins out there, people are buying it at a low price, and then they can dream, oh, what happens when it comes to dollar? Ooh, I'll have millions, right? Especially, so this is the key thing for all those different meme coins, is that they can push out a whole bunch of coins to people, and they can have millions and millions and millions of coins, and then they go, oh my God, man, I know it's not a dollar yet, or heck, Satoshi, no, what's it called, Shiba Inu coin, right? I think it was that's not even a penny yet. You could dream about it being a penny.
Yeah, it's
you'd
mental,
be super rich.
And then you'll just have loads of money when it gets to a penny, because you bought it at such a low value.
Exactly.
It's crazy. No, it is. It definitely is. I think sort of one of, again, I know you seem like this sort of optimistic and positive guy about crypto and whatever. And I know I'm coming across as someone who's very negative and I'm almost representing the corporations, and you're representing the normal common people. I think one of the other things that sort of interests me is, people, or whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is, obviously he's this anonymous person / maybe even a group of people, they have access to a lot of Bitcoins. And I think I read somewhere where if that person or that group were to go public as to who they are, and Bitcoin was to reach a certain amount, they would essentially be in the top 5-10% of richest people in the world automatically. And I think that's another sort of worry for people, is similar to the current system, you have these top 1% that have all the hold. With Bitcoin as well, it seems like there's still a top 1% that also still have the hold, because they have the most amount of Bitcoins. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Let's start with the people who first Satoshi, which whether it's a group or individual. Most likely it's an individual, because a group of people, one person cannot keep two people. One person is really difficult to keep their mouth shut, but two people,
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
exactly. Yeah.
And if it's even more, forget it, right? So it's definitely not a group. It's most likely just one person, and that one person is most likely dead already. Because if you study monetary history, right? If I created Bitcoin, there's no way I'd tell you that I did it. Just it wouldn't happen because I studied monetary history. The banks, whenever they get screwed over by somebody, they shoot them dead, right? A lot of presidents, right? Yeah, they assassinate. They are behind most of the assassinations in the history of the world. So yeah, you might not want to get the banking system upset. So Satoshi probably understood that, right, as he was inventing this, and he knew it was probably going to work. So he actually made sure that he remained anonymous. Now, as to whether or not he owns those coins, it's difficult to say because remember, a lot of people have mined the coins and didn't think that it was going to work out and just said, screw it, I don't care. And that's that. And just left the coins and didn't bother using them. So in the older version of Bitcoin, when he was creating those coins, it was creating them on new addresses every single time. So it's hard to tell whether or not those coins belong to Satoshi or somebody else that had forgotten them. And so we don't know exactly how much he's got, if he's got the keys for each of those coins, and he probably does not, if he is still alive. So it's probably not a problem. Now, as for the people who have went in and purchased a lot of Bitcoin beforehand because they saw its value, you can't rain down on their parade and say, hey, wait a minute, these guys are horrible. They bought Bitcoin before everybody else did. I mean, come on, man. Really? They took the risk. They saw what it was and took the risk. And it could have turned badly. So they deserve the reward, especially if they held it. And eventually they're going to use it. And so once they do, it's going to trickle out to everybody else that wants to buy it. So all you have to do is just buy some Bitcoin, and eventually those people who bought early will eventually sell. Now, some people like Michael Saylor will not sell because he's already said so. And long as our current, and if you're smart about it, really, as long as our current financial system exists and you are at the top 1%, you don't need to sell your Bitcoin because you can print money. Like Michael Saylor's doing, right? You don't need it. So yeah, it's there's never a need until Bitcoin becomes the actual money for them to use it. Once our current financial system collapses, that's when they can use it, because hey, they can buy it up, because they have the access to print as much as these as they want.
Fair enough. I've just got two quick questions because I know we're really short for time. My first one is there sort of a coin that's sort of on the rise that you're sort of particularly looking at that you think that could sort of go up a bit? This isn't financial advice, obviously, but one that sort of you're particularly interested or is Bitcoin sort of all in everything for you?
I do have an answer. I do have a coin for it, but I don't give it out because I'm afraid that people will put all their money into it and I'm wrong, and then it goes to zero. So I don't do that. I don't recommend that at all. So I don't mention a specific coin because of that, because I'm afraid that people go, "Oh, really? Did you said that? I'm going all in." Right?
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do that, right? I mean, I could say that, hey, no, you should only put 5%, but people will ignore that advice and do it anyway. So I don't particularly mention one particular coin, right? So
yeah, I was about to go. I had my phone ready there. I was like, right, I'm gonna everything I've got in the bank, put it in. Da Vinci, in 5 years' time, if it's not gone up, I'm coming for you, mate. If the banks aren't after you, but I'll be after you. My final question to you is, I'm 19 years old. I know I didn't mention it to you. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast was I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I wanted to speak to people that sort of, who had more experience. Maybe they did know what they wanted to do with their life and could sort of offer me some advice. So To sort of people that are around 20 years old, what sort of advice would you give to them right now? In general, in crypto, whatever, what advice would you give to 20-year-olds, roughly 20-year-olds right now?
Well, one is to go after your dreams and don't stop until you fail, right? And when do you fail is when you're dead. So that's, guess what? You'll never fail until you're not on this planet. So keep going, no matter what. And also, right, if you're going to save, if you want to save for your future, put a portion into Bitcoin, but also invest in yourself, right? If you have an idea that you think that's going to do well, and you want to produce it, and you can produce it yourself, go ahead and do so, and then take that money to invest in yourself. It's okay. You'll have lots of time to start over and try again and save again. It's okay, but always don't be afraid to take risks and go ahead and try something new and do something that everybody thinks that you can't do.
And that is it for this week's episode of the podcast. It's a short one, but it was definitely a beneficial one. It was one that I actually made notes on because it was just fascinating. I actually watched it all back and made some notes on it all about crypto because it's fascinating, the entire sort of subject and how it's just taken over everything. At the time, NFTs weren't even that massive at the time of recording, and now they're just something else. So if you want me to make a podcast with Da Vinci or maybe with someone else about NFTs as well, then I'm more than happy to do that because it sounds like an interesting proposal, to be honest. That's not even the right word, but who cares? It's definitely something that I'd be interested in learning more about. But if you enjoyed the episode, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's episode. Give me a like, share it on social media as well. Share it with your friends who might want to learn about crypto too. It is definitely taking over the world, and it was an absolute pleasure to have Da Vinci on. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. Until next time.